Begin today the Gemara on Daf Chavtes, 5 lines down from the top of the Yamud, Tana Rabbanon. Sagt the Gemara, Tana Rabbanon, we learned in a Braisa, Hamak is dam, person that let bloodletting. Lo yochal chagbash, he shouldn't eat these 5 foods that are hinted in, 4 foods, that are hinted in these letters chagbash that the Gemara says here right now what they are. Lo cholov, not milk, v'lo gvino, not cheese, v'lo betzalim, not onions, v'lo shachlayim, and not cress. Now, imachal, if he did eat from these 4 foods after he did bloodletting, so Amar Abaye says, in order to make sure that he doesn't get harmed, what he should do is, naisi revius adachala, let him bring a revius of vinegar, a revius of the chamra, and a revius of wine, arvevinu, ba'adi adadi, and mix them together, and vinishti, and he should drink from this, and that will heal him. And then and when he's relieving himself, he should do this at the east of the city, as it was in those times that it was outside the city. But here he should make sure that it should be at the east of the city, because the odor will be bad, and therefore he wants to do it in the east, where the wind is not going to blow into the city. Rabbi Shua ben Levi said, "Mailin avankli b'Shabbos." You can pick up the avankli on Shabbos. So we're talking over here, as Gemara before was also discussing different things regarding what kind of medical treatment is allowed to be done on Shabbos. Usually there's the gzeira from the Chachamim that on Shabbos you don't take medicine and different medical treatments because of the gzeira that you may come to crush the herbs used for the medicine. But this avankli may be lifted up on Shabbos. Now, my avankli, what is this avankli? Omer Rab Abba istumcha delibe. It's the istumcha deliba, which means something that is outside the heart, whether it means that one of the ribs or some other thing that's right outside the heart, that if it goes down and it puts pressure on the heart and the person will have a hard time breathing, so you're allowed to pick it up on Shabbos. Now, Maya Susa, what's the healing for this when this happens to the person? So what you do is, Maisi kamuna, you bring kamuna, kaman, or whatever, cumin, okay? Karvuya, it's a certain kind of cumin. It goes together. According to Rashi, it's a spoon of this cumin. Veninya, and ninya I believe is mint, and avagadna, which is another kind of herb. Some safatia. Okay, some safatia. Okay, vitzitri, another herb. Rashi says is shadria, and va'avadata, and then you bring avadata, which is azov, which is the azov hyssop. And then you take all of these different ingredients. What do you do with it? Now, laliba, if you want to use this for what was mentioned before, when the person is having an issue with his heart, b'chamra. So you mix it all with wine. You drink it. V'simanach, a siman to know that for the heart, you mix it with wine, because the pasuk says, v'yayin yisamach lavav enash. Wine makes the person's heart glad. L'rucha, if a person is having a hard time with his breathing, maybe asthma or something like that, then b'maya, you mix it with water. V'simanach, a siman for this is v'ruach chalekim merachefas apnei hamayim. The Spirit of Hashem was hovering above the water. So ruach is good for a person's ruach, to breathe, is to mix this with water. L'chuda, if it's for a woman that's in labor, giving birth, b'shichra, mix it with beer. V'simanach, the siman for this is v'kada al shichma. So when it says here, V'kada al shichma, referring to a woman, it's the word shichma could be referred to also, it's similar to the word shichra. You can replace the mem with a reish, and therefore it's a hint that mix it with beer, it's good for a woman in labor. Yeah, okay. Now, Rav Acha Berei Derave says, Shachak lulu kulu ba'adei adadi. He would grind all this together. And v'shakalei malei chamish etzba'asei, he would take basically a handful, all of his fingers, a handful of all of this, a fistful, v'shasile, and he drank it, and this healed him. Rav Ashi, what did Rav Ashi do? Shachik, kol chad v'chad l'chodei, he ground each one of them separately. V'shakal malei etzba'asei, rabasi malei etzba'ai zutrase. And what he would do is, he just took a pinch basically. He put together his thumb, the large finger and the small finger, and took out a pinch of each one of these herbs that he ground, and that was enough. Now, Amar Rav Papa says about this, Ana avdi l'cholani. I did all of this that was mentioned here, but I did not get healed, didn't help me. Adam le'ahutaya, until this Arab merchant told me that he has another simpler way how to heal him, another remedy. I see kuzachadet, bring a new jug, umalya maya, fill it with water, v'rami beitar v'did dufshe, and throw into it a spoon of honey. The talibe koichvi, that is going to be left outside overnight, exposed to the stars. And tomorrow drink from it. And so Papa says, of the hachi, I did like this, vit soy, and I was healed. Okay, so here you see a spoon of honey is a good thing, it's healthy, with some water. Taner Rabbanan and a brayse we learned. Yeah, okay. Taner Rabbanan, we learned in a brayse. Shisha dvarim, merapen es achayla mechalya. The following 6 foods will heal a person from his illness, or and it's a lasting healing. Ve'eluein, the following 5 foods: krov, cabbage, tardin, beets, umei sisin, which is, what's the mei sisin? What do they have there for mei sisin?
It's a plant. It's called pennyroyal.
Pennyroyal. Okay, very good.
What's a plant?
Yeah. So I guess this is it was cooked in the water of this. Yevesha, when it's dried. Okevas, or keva, the stomach of the animal. The haras, the womb of the animal. The yiseres hakavid, in the lobe of the kidneys or of the liver. The lobe of the liver. I think that's what it is. And v'yesh aimrim, others add another thing, another food that is very good healing. Af dogim ketanim, small fish as well. V'loyait, and regarding the small fish, there's another thing. El shadogim ketanim mafrin u'marbin. They heal the person and they cause him to be fruitful and to multiply. And or marbin, it goes together. Mafrin u'marbin kol gufish alodam. They're marbe the entire body of the person. Now, asarat dvarim, there are 10 foods, machzirin esachayel l'cholyai, that bring a person's illness back, and the cholyai kasha, and the illness that will be caused from this will be very difficult. And Elohein, here are the 10 things. Ha'echol basashair, shuman, a person that eats the meat of an ox, and shuman, fat, very fat meat. This is counted as 2 separate things because otherwise you won't have 10 here. So one is the meat from an ox, whether it's fat or not, and the other one is fat meat, very fatty meat. Bastat tzali, roasted meat. Bastat tziparim, bird's meat. Ubeya, tzluya, a roasted egg. Shachalayim, cress. Taglachas, a haircut. Merchatz, bathing. So taglachas and merchatz, it seems that what the Gemara is saying here is, in a time, if the person is not so healthy, it's not a time for a haircut. And if he's ill, he's in bed, it's not a time to go into the bath either. Ugvina, and cheese, chaved, and liver. So Rashi says, tarfashu the chavda. No, sorry, that goes back, to the Yeseres HaKavod. That's another thing. Here, kavod means liver. V'yesh aimrim, and others add and say, af agazim, that this includes also nuts. V'yesh aimrim af kishuin, and others say kishuin, which is sometimes translated as cucumbers or large cucumbers. This is also not good to the person. But regarding the kishuin added here, Tana deber Rabbi Shmuel, lama nikra shma kishuin. Why does it have this name of kishuin? Because it's not good for the person, for the entire body of the person, like a sword to the body.
It's only big one.
Only large cucumbers. Yeah. Okay. So make sure you use the Kirby's. That's healthy.
Persian.
The Persian cucumbers. That's even better. Okay, Atkan is Dagarate and all the different remedies and healings. Now we go back to what it said in the Mishnah, Ve'ein mistapre mehen b'chol mokem. That you shouldn't take a haircut from a guy in Avoda Zara, no matter where you are, and that's according to the Meir's opinion, whether you're in public or in private. But then the Mishnah says, the Chachamim disagreed with this. The Chachamim said that only in private you shouldn't, but if it's Rishus Rabbim, there's other people there, so there's no danger that he may use the razor to harm the Yid. So Tana Rabbanan, we learned in Abraisi, Yisrael HaMestapim Levikachavim, a Yid that's taking a haircut from a guy, Soraya B'mara, you should make sure that he could see in a mirror what it is that he's doing. Levikachavim HaMestapim Yisrael, a guy that's taking a haircut from a Yid, so Kivin Shegia LeBlorisai, so by the Goyim, one of their customs for the Avoda Zara was that they left a ponytail for the Avoda Zara, so when you come near that ponytail, Shaimit Es Yadai, so you remove your hand. You're not supposed to prepare for him his haircut that's going to be done for the Avoda Zara, so you can cut his hair and the rest of his head, but not in that area where you're preparing the style for his Avoda Zara. That's the Braisa. Says the Gemara Mamar. So the first point that Tana said on this Braisa is Yisrael HaMestapim Levikachavim. The Yid that's taking a haircut from a guy, Roya B'mara, you should have a mirror that you can see what's going on. So the question is, what does having a mirror help? Hey Chidami, what's the case here? If you're taking the haircut from the guy in a public place where there's other people there, so then Lamale, why is it necessary to have a mirror? There's other people there and therefore there's no danger, so the mirror is not going to help. Lama limara, that is. What do you need this mirror for? V'ibir rishus hayachid, and if the haircut is in a private place, so here it is a danger. Kiraya ma'hava. How is having a mirror in front of you going to help stopping the guy from using his razor to harm the person, for harming the yid? Answers the Gemara, lo'ila b'rishus hayachid. We are talking about a yid taking a haircut from a guy in a rishus hayachid in a private place. So what does the mirror help? Because if you ask the guy, I need to have a mirror to see exactly how the haircut's being done. I want to make sure that it's a perfect cut. So then you appear to this guy to be a very prominent individual and he'll be afraid to harm you. So obviously in the times of the Gemara, a barber didn't usually provide a mirror for you to see how the cut, how he's giving you the haircut. And so if you ask for a mirror, the guy says this guy must be someone chashuv. He has to have a special haircut. And therefore, that will save the person's life. The yid could be taking a haircut from the guy even in a private place. The Gemara brings the incident that happened. Rav Chana bar Bizna, he took a haircut from a Goyish barber, Avoda Zara, in a alleyway or on a small pathway in the city Nerda. Now Amalei, this guy says to Rav Chana bar Bizna, Chana, yoy kuyach lezuga. Your throat is very beautiful for my razor. So he was threatening to kill him. So Amar, Rav Chana bar Bizna heard this. He said, Teisi li, I deserve this. The Avri ad Rav Meir. Because I was over on what Rav Meir said, that you shouldn't take a haircut by a guy in Avoda Zara. So the Gemara asked, why did he say that he was over on what Rav Meir said? Was he not over on what the Rabbanan said? The Rabbanan agreed to Rav Meir when you're taking a haircut in a private place where there's no goyim, it's in a Shus Yachid, it's not allowed. So apparently the haircut here was in a more private place, and therefore the guy was threatening to kill him. Answers the Gemara, where did Rabbanan say that you shouldn't take a haircut in a Rishus Rabban, but Rishus Yachid mi Amor? But in Rishus Yachid would Rabbanan allow to take a haircut? So why? So therefore, over here, since he was taking the haircut in a Rishus Rabbim, so therefore this is only according to Rav Meir that he was over, because he was in the shvili, he was in the street of Nerda. So why did he do this? Why Taka did he do this? That he took a haircut in this place? Because of who Savar? Rav Chana bar Bizna thought Shvili the Nerda, this alleyway that he was in the city of Nerda, there are people that walk through there. So he thought that this is enough of a public area like Rishus Rabim, and therefore he took the haircut in this area. But apparently it wasn't that much of a public area, and therefore he put his life in danger. The Gemara doesn't tell us the end of the story. We'll assume that his life was saved. Okay, the Gemara.
He lived to tell the story.
He lived to tell the story. Okay. Yeah. The Gemara, Braisa said afterwards that a guy that's taking a haircut from a yid, so when you come close to the place where he leaves his ponytail for the Avoda Zara, so you take your hands away and you don't give the haircut in that area. The kama, how much in that area where the ponytail is do you have to not cut his hair? Omer Rav Malkiya, so Rav Malkiya says, Omer Avoda Barava, he quotes Avoda Barava, Shloishetz boys, l'chol ruach v'ruach, 3 hand breaths, or finger breaths rather, 3 finger breaths on every side of where the ponytail is being kept. You have to not give him the haircut. Okay, now since this halacha was quoted in the name of Rav Malkiya, that said it in the name of Avoda Barava, the Gemara here brings that there were 2 Amiroim that had a very similar name. And in order not to confuse who said what, it will clarify for us here this matter. We had the same minyan in the Gemara and Makis as well. So Amar Rav Chanina Berei Rav Ikke, Rav Chanina Berei Rav Ikke said, Shpud, the halacha regarding a spit.
Skewer.
Or a skewer, that's what it is? That's the translation of it?
Shpud.
Yeah. Okay, the skewer that's used to fry things or to roast things in the fire. All right, so this halacha of the shpud is talking about on Yontif. On Yontif, after you use this skewer, it becomes dirty and it can't be used again, and therefore it will be muktzah, according to one opinion. But according to Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah, it's not mamash muktzah, you can take it and move it to the side. So this halacha of the shpud that was said that we pass like Rabbi Eliezer, that you can move it to the side. One halacha. Another halacha, shvachis. The halacha about shvachis. Okay, 1 second. Let me just clarify again regarding the shpud. Yeah, this is the halacha that I said. Gemara and Beya. Okay, now the other halacha about shvacha is about maidservants. The halacha about the maidservants is in the Gemara in Ksubis, where it speaks about the halacha of a woman that gets married and she has the different things that she does for her husband, to serve her husband. But if she's bringing in maidservants, she doesn't have to do all his works. The maids do the work, but it nevertheless says there in the Mishnah that Rabbi Eliezer said, I think it's regarding this that Rabbi Eliezer said. Before I mentioned Rabbi Eliezer regarding the shpud, I think it's here regarding this that it was Rabbi Eliezer that said that even if she's bringing in maidservants, she shouldn't sit around and do absolutely nothing. She should still do something because otherwise she's going to lose her mind. So that halacha regarding shvachais, and then the third halacha is v'gumais. Gumais is the hair follicles. This is regarding a boy that's 13 years old, and there's the hairs that are the sign that he's a gadol, even if you don't see actual hairs, but if there's hair follicles, you know that he had hairs because there's no gumais without hairs, and that's a sign that he's already a gadol. So these three halachas, who said these halachas? Rav Malkiyoi. This was said by the Amayre with the name Rav Malkiyoi, with a vav, with a chaylim at the end of his name. Now there's another three halachas, blightus, the halacha that we're speaking about here, regarding giving a haircut to a guy, and you have to remove your hands when you get near his ponytail, and then the halacha of Efer Mikla, which is a Gemara in Makkis that we learned, where it says that when you place in a wound, if you put ashes from the oven in order to heal the wound, you're not allowed because it could create a ksevis kaka, could create a tattoo. Or gvina, the halacha regarding cheese, using cheese from a guy, which is going to be the halacha we're going to learn later here. Rav Malkiyah. These are the halachas that Rav Malkiyah taught these halachas. Malkiyah with a comets with the hey at the end of the word. That's one version of explaining the difference between the halachas that Rav Malkiyah said and the halachas that Rav Malkiyah said. Amar Rav Papa, but Rav Papa had a different version for this. Masnisin umasnita. Any halachas that are related to something that was taught in a Mishnah or a Braise, Rav Malkiyah. Those are halachas that Rav Malkiyah said. Shmaitase, but if it's halachas that are not related to something that was taught in a Mishnah or a Braise, but it's halachas that Amiraim spoke about, Rav Malkiyah. Those are the halachas that Rav Malkiyah taught. The simana, a simon to remember this, masnita malkasa. That masnita, the Mishnah, is like a queen, meaning that the halachas of a Tana and a Mishnah, the Amiram can't argue with, like it's like a queen that you can't argue with her. So therefore the name Malkiyah, which is similar in sounding to Masnita, Malkiyah, Masnita, that's the sign to remember that the halachas related to a Mishnah or Braise of Malkiyah taught. The Gemara says, Mai binayu, what is the difference between these two regarding what was said before? Who is it? Rav Chana or Rav Chanina? Rav Chanina bereid Rav Ikke and Rav Papa. They divided differently what each said, what Rav Malkiyah said, what Rav Malkiyah said. The only difference between them is shvachais. The halacha regarding the shvachais, since shvachais is something which is mentioned in a Mishnah, so according to the version of Rav Papa, this is something that Rav Malkiyah said, and according to Rav Chanina, this is something that Rav Malkiyah said. That's the difference between these two versions and the way they divided all these statements. Zok Mishnah, Elu Dvarim. The following things that come from Goyim that serves Avoda Zara are going to be forbidden. And the Isser is a Isser of not only not to eat, but not to have any benefit from this. Okay, so now this Mishnah here is based on the halacha regarding Avoda Zara, as we'll see in the Gemara, that any takrovis Avoda Zara, anything that was used to be sacrificed for Avoda Zara, is asr to have hana from it. And therefore, all these things the Mishnah here mentions are things that come from a guy, and there's a suspicion, there's reason to believe that he could use it to sacrifice for Avoda Zara. And the Isser is not, it's Isser hana. Hayayin, wine that comes from a guy. So this is not only a case where it's Yayin Nesach, where you clearly know that he poured it for Avoda Zara, but this is Yayin Stam. Any wine from a guy, you can assume that it's possible that he poured it for Avoda Zara, so you're not allowed to use it, not allowed to have any hana from it. And also vinegar from a guy, that in the beginning was wine, but it just went sour, it became vinegar. And this cheres, this earthenware keli that had wine that's absorbed in it, and what they did with this earthenware is they then soaked it in water and they got out the wine from it and they made some kind of a wine drink from it. that also, since it has wine in it from a guy, may not have anah from it. For oirais levuvin, and the hide of an animal that has an opening in it that was cut open, that you could see that this is the special style, the way they did it. They cut it open in the area by the heart of the animal, and they did this. What they did is they cut it open. They took out the heart of the animal and they sacrificed it for Avoda Zara. So therefore, that hide may not be used either. Yeah, in the place of the heart, the skin by the heart. Rav Shimon Gamliel says that it depends regarding this skin. If you see that it was torn open, it was cut open in a circle, then it's not allowed, because that's how they cut it open, to take out the heart. Mashuch. But if it was cut open like in a straight line, mutter, that is allowed, because that's not the way they did it for Avoda Zara. If there's meat that was being brought in to a place of Avoda Zara, but it wasn't brought in yet, mutter. You're allowed to eat this meat if it's kosher meat. But if it's coming out from a place of Avoda Zara, then aser. It's aser ba'anah mipnei shu kazivchei meisim. Because then it could be that it was already brought as a Avoda Zara for that takrevis Avoda Zara, so it's zivchei. That's called zivchei meisim. As the Gemara will bring the pasuk, and it's aser ba'anah. And divrei Rabbi Akiva, this is Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Someone not goyis here. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Here the Mishnah brings in another halacha b'derech agav, that when you see a guy that's on his way going to Tarpus, meaning he's going basically to Avoda Zara, he's going into his church. Aser losses velosis imam. At that point, you shouldn't do any business with him, sell him something, and so on. Why? This is basically connected to the halachas that we learned in the first Perek, where it says you may not do business with a guy in the time of their holiday, because that may cause them to then come and thank their Avoda Zara for what you did for them. Or they may use what you sell them to use it for Avoda Zara. So over here as well, a similar halacha. When the guy is mamish on his way into church, you shouldn't do any business with him for these reasons. But vahaboin, if he's coming out, mutaran, then you may do business with him. Okay, going back to the main theme over here regarding things that come from Goyim, Avoda Zara, Naides, leather flasks that come from a guy, the kankanean or other kind of flasks that this is made from earthenware, the yayin sheyisrael konis behem, even if there's wine from a yid that is being stored in it, asuran. It's going to be asa to drink from this wine. The isuran isra no divrei Rav Meir. Rav Meir says the wine that is in this is going to be asa ba'al no, because the whether leather or earthenware flask, it has in it the blia absorbed from the wine of the Avoda Zara, and now you're storing the wine of a yid, and it gets from the wine of the tam, or the wine from the Avoda Zara that was absorbed in it. Therefore, it's even asaba no. Chachamim say lachen asurin. If it was still moist, and that's Rashi says for 12 months, then it's going to be asa even ba no. But yuvation, once it's completely dry, mutarin. Then it doesn't get from that absorption, and it's going to be totally mutar. Skip something? Sorry. Let's go back up. The Chachamim, sorry. Yeah, okay, that's it. The Chachamim say, "Ein isuran isur hana." That there is a problem of the blia, of the absorption that there is of the wine, but just that blia is not going to be isur hana. It's only going to be asur to eat or to drink this wine, but not isur hana. Okay, another case.
This is a source for the sherry casks.
The sherry casks, right? The problem with the sherry casks. That's where it is. Yep, right here. Hachatzanim, the grape seeds, va'azogin, and the grape skins, shalev kechavim that come from Goyim, asurin, are going to be asur, v'yisuran isur hana, and their isur is the isur hana. Divrei Rav Meir, this is Rav Meir's opinion. The Chachamim, so this is, even though it's only the skins and the seeds, is the isur hana from this. It's also used to get out to make wine from it. The Chachamim say lachen when it's still moist, and this is what I mentioned before. Rashi says it's 12 months. For the first 12 months, when it's still moist, then asurin. Then it's asur because you make also wine from this. But yuvation, once it's already after 12 months and it's completely dry, mutarim. Then it's mutar. Hamurius, which is the fats of fish, ogvinas, beisun, yanki, and the cheese that comes from beisun, yanki. It's a certain village. It's specifically this cheese, right? So Rashi says, we'll see, the Gemara will explain, other cheeses are going to be mutter, but this cheese, shel evdi kechavim from the Goyim, asurin, it's also isuran isur hana. There's a isur hana, Divrei Rav Meir, this is Rav Meir's opinion, there's wine that's mixed into this, and therefore it's asaba hana. The Chachamim say, ein isuran isur hana. Even though there's wine mixed in, but there is no isur hana, it's only asur ba'achila. Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda said that Shal Rabbi Shmuel es Rabbi Shua kishoy mahalchem baderech. So Rabbi Shmuel asked Rabbi Shua, they were traveling together on the way, and he asked him the question about this Isser. Omar lo, he says to him, ma asru gevinas oivdike chavim. Why is it that Chachamim said that it's asr to have a no from the cheese of Goyim? What's the reason for this? Now, it can't be that the reason is that you're concerned that it comes from animals that are not kosher, because that you can't make cheese from that.
Yeah.
Right? So if so, why not allow to use cheese that is made by Goyim?
Or is it only thing that's based on yaki?
Yeah, okay. So that cheese that comes from Beis and Yaki, or maybe he's referring also to. Rashi actually says. Rashi says that it's referring to only according to the Rabbanon, that say that it's asaba achila and not pan. If the issue is isa achila Beis and Yaki, then the issue is that it has wine in it. So that we know why it's asa. But according to the Chachamim that say that it's asa ba'achila, not ba'no, so it's not because of the wine. So he's asking, so according to that opinion, he's asking, why is it asa to have the cheese from the Goyim? So Amaloi, Rabbi Shmuel answered him, or Rabbi Shua rather. Rabbi Shmuel asked the question. Rabbi Shua answered him, Mipnei shemamidin oisa bekeva shel nevela. Because in order to get the cheese to become cheese, that the fat should separate and should become hard cheese, how is it done? They take from the milk that's in the keva of a dead carcass. So the way you would make cheese is you take out from that fat that there is leftovers in the animals, the place where the milk is stored inside the animal. You take out that hard milk of inside the animal and you place it inside the milk, and that will cause the milk to ferment, or whatever it's called in English, and the fats separate and becomes hard cheese. Okay, so that's how it's done. So now a guy, what he's going to do is he's going to take from that hard milk that's inside the animal, but it won't necessarily be from a kosher shechted animal. He'll take it from a nevela, it wasn't shechted properly, from a dead carcass. He'll use that keva, the milk from the inside the animal, to put inside the milk to harden it to make it into cheese. Therefore, you can't use this cheese from the guy. So Rabbi Shmuel answers him and says, this is not a good reason. I'll bring you a proof from another halacha that was taught that to use from that hard milk that's inside the body of the animal after the animal is dead is not considered to be that you're having hana, that you're eating from the dead carcass itself. And his proof is as follows. When it comes to this stomach, this place where the milk is stored inside the animal, from a carbon oila. The isser of eating or having a na from this animal, from a carbon oila, it's more stringent than a nevela. Why? Because a nevela, an animal that wasn't shechted properly, is asa ba'achila. It's not asa ba'hana. But by a carbon oila, from a carbon oila is asa ba'hana, and then also there's an isser of me'ila. It has to all be burnt on the mizbeach. And what's the halacha regarding this? Amru, it was said, koyin shadaita yafe, a koyin that can handle this. So what does he do? Sharfa chaya. He can swallow from that hard milk that was left over inside the keva of this animal, this carbon oil that's going to be burnt on the mizbeach. He can take and swallow from this hard milk that's left inside the animal. It's allowed. Why? So Rashi explains, because the milk that's left inside is not considered to be like the body of the animal itself. It's what Rashi calls it pirish ba'alma. It's like it's what separates from the animal, but it's not like part of the body of the animal. So therefore, even though it's asaba no and asaba me'ila, you're allowed to go and swallow from it. That's what the word sherfa means. He swallows from it. Now the Gemara here continues. It says, "V'loy hayduloi," the one that says that it's allowed, they didn't admit to him that l'chatchila it's allowed. Aval amru, however, it was said about this that ein nenim v'loy mayolin. You should l'chatchila have a no from this milk that's left inside the animal of the carbon oila. But even if you do v'loy mayolin, minat Torah there's no isser. Minat Torah there's no isser of me'ila over here, and if you have a no from it, you're not over on anything. So the point is, you see over here. Well, we're talking about the kain, yeah. So we see over here that even regarding the cave of a carbon oila, that's more stringent. The kain can swallow from this milk that's left inside the animal. So the same should be regarding if a guy is using the milk that's left inside a nevela to make the cheese. That milk that he's using from this nevela is pirsha ba'alma. It shouldn't cause any issa to the cheese that he's making. So why is it asa? So Amalai, so Rabbi Shua gives him a different reason. It's not just could he use it from the Vela, it's because he's using from the keva, from the milk that's left in the body of this calf that was used to be sacrificed for Avoda Zara. That's a bigger problem. That's a bigger isser. From Avoda Zara, you're not allowed to have any anah, and here there were more machmer that you can't have anah at all, not even from this milk as well, that it's being used to make this cheese. So Amalai, so Rabbi Shmuel still doesn't accept this reasoning. He says, Im Kain, if that's the reason that we're concerned for Avodah Zarah, so Lama lo yasru bano. So why did the Chachamim say that it's only also to eat? Why didn't they not say that it's also bano as well? So Rabbi Shua didn't have an answer for him. So the Mishnah says, he changed the conversation and he spoke to him about another matter. And he wanted to sort of, he changed the conversation. Amalai, Rabbi Shua says to Rabbi Shmuel, Yishmael, tell me Yishmael, how do you read this pasuk in Shir Hashirim, where it says, do you read it ki toivim doidecha miyayin? Do you read it doidecha, which is Lashon Zachar, or ki toivim doidayich, which is Lashon Nekeva? How is it read? It's a mashal all between Yidden and the Eibush, the Ish and the Isha. Is it read Lashon Zachar or Lashon Nekeva? Is it going on the man or the woman? So he answers him, I read it ki toivim doidayich. I read it Lashon Nekeva, doidayich. Amalai, Rabbi Shua tells him, you're making a mistake. Ein adava came. That's not how you read it. Shari chaverim malamadol. The pasuk afterwards shows you how you read this pasuk, because afterwards in the pasuk it says l'reach shmanecha toivim, and there it's definitely read shmanecha lashon zachar. So here as well, the decha is to be read lashon zachar. Okay, the Rishonim point out that it must be that in that time there wasn't a clear Messiah how to read the lashon of the pasuk, because if there was, Rabbi Shmuel wasn't an Amaretz. He wouldn't make such a mistake regarding the punctuation of the pasuk if it's read doidecha and not doidayich. But apparently at that time there wasn't a clear Messiah, and Rabbi Shmuel clarified for him that you read it doidecha.
This thing they translated as hard to know from the cave. They touch it up the way the term we use today. Rennet.
Rennet, that's what it's used?
Rennet is why you can't have. That's the reason we can't, because it comes from an animal.
The cave of the animal, which could be coming from nevela.
I'm saying, so when we have kosher cheese, quote unquote, this is because we use the rennet of a kosher animal. But today they have chemicals to replace them.
Yeah, correct. Everything today is with chemicals, Okay, let's see the Gemara. Zakta Gemara, Yayin Minalon. From where do I know that wine, that is Yayin Nesach, poured for Avodah Zara? How do we know that it's Asa Bahana? Amar Rabba Baravu, Makra, the pasuk says, Asher Chelev Zevachema Yechelu Yishtu Yayin Esicham. The fats of their sacrifices for Avodah Zara they eat, and they pour wine for the Avodah Zara. So it compares the two, the sacrifices and the wine that they offer for Avodah Zara. And therefore, Mazevach Asabana, any sacrifices for Avodah Zara is forbidden to have any benefit. Af Yayin Nami Asabana, so the wine poured for Avodah Zara is also forbidden. So now, Zevach Gufei Minolon, we're comparing it to any sacrifice, but what's the source that something sacrificed for Avodah Zara is forbidden? Because regarding a sacrifice, there's a pasuk that says, Vayitzamdu L'Baal Poir, that the Yidden had the desire to serve the Poir, and Vayechlu Zivchei Mesim, and they ate from the sacrifices, which is called Zvachim for Mesim, for dead. So therefore it says it refers to what sacrifice for Avodah Zara is Zivchei Mesim, Ma Meis. Osabana, so from this I learn out. Just like from a body, a dead body, you may not have any benefit. Av Zevach, Nam Yosabana. So too the sacrifice for Avodah Zara, you may not have any benefit. So the Gemara goes a step further. Umeis Gufei. From where do we know that from a dead body you may not have any anah? Asya, because we learn out, but it says Shom. There is a Ksei of the word Shom. And that's mi Egla Arufa. We learned this from the Egla Arufa. Ksiv hacha, it says in the pasuk Vatamas Sham Miriam, that Miriam passed away there. It uses the term Sham. Ksiv hasa, by Egla Arufa it says Va'arfu Sham es Egla banachal, that they cut off the Egla. This is by the Egla Arufa and the Nachal, so it uses the term Sham. Mala lon osabana, just like by the Egla Arufa, you may not have any benefit from it. Afkan, so too by Miriam when she passes away. Nami, of her dead body, you may not have any anah. So it's osabana. Now, one more step, the Gemara says, V'hasam minalan, from where do we know by the Egla Arufa that you may not have anah from this Egla Arufa? Amri, the Beirab Yanai, because kaparik sivba kakachim. In the Lashon the Pasik, it says, Kapel Amcha Yisrael, V'ni Kapel Adam, it uses the term kapara and atonement, just like it says by kachim. So just like kachim, there's a Isra Hana, so too from the Egla Arufa, which is what's used when you have a body that was found dead, you don't know who killed, and you take the calf and you cut off its head in a nachal, so it's Asr Bahana. And therefore from there we learn out to a mace, and from a mace we learn out to zivche mason, which is the sacrifice of Avoda Zara, and from there we learn out to the wine that's poured for Avoda Zara. Then it said in the Mishnah, "V'hachaymetz shalei v'kechavim shay mitchilas yayin." The vinegar from a guy, if it was originally wine, you also may not have enough from this, because you may have poured it for Avoda Zara. In fact, the Gemara Pshita, why does the Mishnah have to add this? It's obvious if it was originally wine. Mishum da'achmetz pakale isura. And now if it turned into vinegar, somehow the isra that's on it should go off. Why? So Ravashi explains, Ha asa lashminon. This is what the Mishnah is coming to teach here. That it's only if it's vinegar from a guy that originally was wine. But that comes to exclude this though. Chaymetz shalanu. If a yid has vinegar and biyad kechavim, you're giving your vinegar to a guy to keep for you, ein tzarech chaysim b'toy chaysim. So here there's no concern that the guy may take this vinegar that you're giving him and use it to pour for his Avoda Zara, and you don't have to have that vinegar that you're giving to a guy to keep for you to be sealed in a double seal. Right, this concept of a double seal is something that we're going to see later here in this Perek, that in certain cases, Chachamim will geyser, that you have to have a double seal in order to be sure that the guy did not tamper with it. But over here, regarding this vinegar, it's not necessary to have a double seal. You do have to have at least one seal, but not a double seal. Why? If you're concerned that he may open it up and pour it for his Avoda Zara, we're not concerned that he's going to pour it because it's just vinegar. It's not good quality. He wouldn't really want to pour this for his Avoda Zara. And if you're afraid that maybe he wants to switch the vinegar for wine, he wants to switch it. So even the ikke chaysem, but since it has a seal on it, light tarach, he's not going to bother to have to open the seal and then seal it back again. There are other cases where even with one seal, we're concerned that the guy is going to be so interested in tampering with this that one seal is not enough. But in this case, because it's vinegar, it's not good quality. So over here, we're not concerned that the guy is going to open the seal and then have to close the seal again. That's one case. That's we learned from our Mishnah. Similar thing, the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Loi said that Shaninu we learned, Yayin mevushal, shalev kechavim, if it's wine that was cooked, Yayin mevushal of a guy. Shahayim mitchilas yayin, that in the beginning was fresh wine, when it was not cooked, aser. It's aser to use from a guy. Now the yayin nasach they pour for Avoda Zara is only wine that's not cooked. Yayin mevushal, there's no concern that they pour it, but if it was originally wine, regular, good wine, and only later it was cooked, so it's still going to be aser. So on this as well, the Gemara says the same point. Pshita, it's obvious that if it was originally wine that wasn't cooked, that it's aser. Mishum de ifshal pakale isura. Now that it was cooked, I would think that the isur is removed. Why should it change? So Ravashi explains the same point as he said before. Ha-asal hashmina. What he's coming to say is the exclusion in this case here. The yayin mevushal shalanu. If a yid has his own wine, his cooked wine, biyad levdikachavim, and you're giving it to a guy to keep for you. So over here, there's no reason to be concerned. You will not need a double seal for this. If the concern is that he may pour it for Avoda Zara, they don't use this cooked wine to pour for Avoda Zara. If you're concerned that he wanted to switch it because he wanted to drink from it, but since it's sealed, with one seal, that's enough. That is one seal. If he's not going to go out of his way to open it up and have to reseal it again.
They say that